my name is Frederick, and I am a senior here at Upper Iowa University, and this is my presentation for my final project. Today I'll be discussing budget and limited staffing issues at Young Arena, which is a public sector issue. I am currently an event staff supervisor at the arena and have been working with my managers over the course of the last 8 weeks for this project. Young Arena is facing a critical issue where the staff feels like they do not have enough people to help make ends meet for a public sector building. Management is aware of the problem because it stems from budget constraints. The arena is a multi-purpose venue that is highlighted for the United States Hockey League team, the Waterloo Blackhawks, which hosts several games throughout each fiscal year at the facility. Across town, the University of Northern Iowa and their indoor dome, the Unit Dome, is placed as a focal point to defining how to potentially solve the issues Young Arena is facing. The Cedar Valley Sportsplex also faced similar budget constraints but responded in a different way. The Plex is also a public building operated by the city. We will analyze different sources of research related to these issues and offer up a solution to the problem. There will also be conversations with arena management in the form of interviews to fully understand the critical components. To define the problem, we will analyze the problems associated on the topic of budget constraints and limited staffing, while providing academic research, interviews, and methods to working through this issue, with the end goal of providing adequate solutions for the agency to consider. According to McNichol 2012, the budgets for public sector employees have varied so much over the past several decades because of influences surrounding education, salary and compensation, and where they stand against the private sector. Data from their article articulates how critical education and job growth went hand in hand. Young Arena being a public good to be used by community members and visitors, and is no different to these types of issues. Along with budget constraints issues, there lies an issue with not having enough staff to meet the needs of users at the facility. The building used to have several staff, but management had to cut back to make the budget constraints work for the facility currently. It is, however, not working for the limited staff. In comparison to the government, the Washington Post reports that, in addition to understaffing, it said the government is suffering from skills gaps in areas including acquisition, information technology, finance, analysis, engineering, and management support. Yoder, 2018. As the Post reports, there are limited staffing available to all levels of public services, so what the arena is facing is not out of the ordinary by any means. From about 2005 to 2015, Young Arena was at a peak for staff, operating with just 3 full-time supervisor managers and nearly 80 combined seasonal and part-time staff. At events like wrestling tournaments, hockey games, and concerts, a crew of cleanup and maintenance staff would be about 25 to 30 staff at every event. Outside of that, the rest of the staff are comprised on beer stand sales and concession staff, which are strategically placed throughout the building. For about 10 years, this became a normal part of the workplace, and it gave the staff the flexibility to take time off just about whenever they needed to. When staff get used to a reality that works around their schedule, it becomes increasingly difficult to be susceptible to change when it is required. Once the budget constraints were handed off to the supervisors at the arena, the staff were brought in small groups to assess their role with the organization and talk through changes. Management was stern that the flexibility was going away, and that staff would have to adjust and make it work. It was not a turning point that would push staff into finding alternate employment, but it did make us rely on each other more. Today, the arena still offers the same amount, if not more, programs than have been offered in the past. The budget is still restricted, and the staff are beginning to feel burnt out from stress in and around the work environment. In November of 2018, a meeting was held with the Young Arena supervisor for an interview and to hold a conversation about the staffing and budgeting issues at the rink. The meeting concluded with a discussion on interruptions in the process. The meeting was only supposed to last a half hour at the most, but was nearly double that. The issue being that there are phone calls, people stopping into the rink, and other questions off topic that are asked and discussed in several meetings. It was noted that having 3 full-time managers doesn't supplement the actual physical demands of the time of the arena. The supervisor noted that it was indicative of operating and managing a public building that there are always people who need help with something. Working in a service-driven industry makes it tough to get things completed. He spoke about how the three managers have weekly meetings but often get interrupted by phone calls. One big area of need is having enough bodies to help clean up the arena after events, but also to have the same people there for setup and teardown. Dolan, 2018. There are two recommendations to help find a solution to the problem. The recommendations are to conduct a study but also to look to the community. We have heard about the venues within the Cedar Valley, what the defined problem is, how the agency has changed over the years, and what research tells us. We can really push along the process of working to find a solution by doing two things: conducting research and looking to our community. The arena should conduct a research study where they analyze attendance, number of staff, and revenue versus expenditures. An easy way to see how the number of staff affects the amount of money received by the arena. If less staff are required to meet the demand, money can be saved by moving shifts around for other activities that are busier for the arena. The community is a huge factor in the finding of a solution as well. There are citizens that regularly use the facility for walking, skating, and watching hockey. It is imperative to reach out to them and see how they can help find a happy medium between number of staff and current recreational options. One thing that hasn't been mentioned is that there is also a decent amount of time that the part-time staff are the only ones in the building. They have a lot of responsibilities to handle while they are at work. Perhaps the public may notice things that these staff are doing or aren't doing that may also affect the usage of the facility. They too may have suggestions to provide outside thinking on how the arena can keep recreation usage up while providing a smaller or reduced staff. An area that was identified by the arena supervisor is having enough people to facilitate cleaning up of the building after an event, but also the setting up and tearing down of that event. The University of Northern Iowa, or UNI, has taken the initiative to help their reduced need for staff by engaging community groups. UNI brings in groups from local churches, 4-H clubs, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and other agencies or organizations that are looking to raise funds for their respective causes. They have two areas groups can volunteer in. One of those areas is selling concessions at the Unit Dome for home football games. The other is providing extra hands to get the dome cleaned up after the game. UNI, 2018. Young Arena could do the same thing to help local groups raise money while providing a less expensive rate to clean the facility after the game. Currently, it takes about 1.5 to 2 hours to clean the facility from top to bottom and the outside. Providing a fundraising rate instead of hiring more employees would allow for a set rate of cost to clean up after hockey games and events. An alternative method would be to do what the Cedar Valley Sportsplex is doing. The Plex is another city-owned and operated building that is adjacent to the arena by being 2 blocks down the road. In November of 2018, the Waterloo Cedar Falls Courier reported that the memberships at the Plex were going to be increasing. According to the Courier, the cost of an adult membership will increase from $530 to $556 per year, or nearly 5%, while a family membership grows from $795 to $835. Annual youth memberships will grow from $265 to $279. Currently, members won't see the higher fees until January 1st, but the rates go into effect immediately for new members. Jameson, 2018. There is a critical staffing shortage at Young Arena, which is operated by the City of Waterloo in the northeast quadrant of the state of Iowa. The staffing shortage is due largely to budget constraints. While engaging the community at a high level is difficult, bringing in community groups can help supplement staffing shortages due to budget constraints because outside groups cost less while providing a fundraising incentive that will fill the void in the limited staff. By utilizing community groups, the arena can boost recreation offerings by having less staff required for each event. Community groups will have the ability to raise money for their respective causes and be engaged in the public sector further. Secondary solutions could be the increase of user fees, which is not advised, because it can defer people from using the facility and in turn hurt the revenue sources. Thank you for your time and for listening to my presentation.